We're live on Facebook.
Okay, great. Thank you, Director Garcia, and welcome everyone to the May 25th, 2022 meeting of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. My name is Honey Mahogany, and I'm chair of the San Francisco Democratic Party, and I'm calling this meeting to order. I just want to welcome everyone back to our regularly scheduled meeting. It's good to see everyone. And at this time, I would like to call on our recording secretary, Member Lee, to do the roll.
Great, thank you so much, Chair Mahogany. All right, Member Avalos.
Proxy.
Thank you. Member Braga is excused. Member Berry.
Presente.
Thank you. Member Campos. Member Chen is excused. Member Dufty. Member Galata.
Present.
Member Ibanez.
Proxy.
Thank you. Member Kim is excused. Member Lacroix.
Present.
Member Lee is here. Member Loftus is excused. Member Lovett.
Here.
Chair Mahogany.
Present.
Member Mandelman. Member Marr. Member Moliga.
Proxy.
Thank you. Member Morales is excused. Member Raju. Member Ronan. Member Thomas.
Here.
Member Tung.
Here.
Member Williams.
Present.
Member Feinstein.
Here by proxy.
Member Pelosi and Spear are excused. Member Koudalakis.
Present by proxy.
Member Ma. Member Cohen.
Sorry, Member Ma is present, Treasurer Ma is present by a proxy.
Thank you. Member Cohen. Member Weiner. Member Haney is excused as ex officio now. Member Ting. All right, with 16 present, we have quorum, Chair.
All right. Thank you, Recording Secretary Lee. We will now move on to item number 2 in our agenda, which is the approval of the meeting agenda for tonight's meeting. You should have the agenda before you, and members, I will just note that on the agenda, we have item number 13, which I have introduced and would like to add. The item was brought to me by a coalition of community members who are working to hold the politicians who are attacking our LGBTQ youth and rights in state legislatures across the country accountable. With us just being a few days away from Pride Month, this is an extremely timely issue and matter, and I would ask that we have a motion to add item number 13, to the agenda.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, I heard Vice Chair Galata move that and Member Berry seconded. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Okay, seeing none, that motion passes. Are there any other amendments that need to be made to the agenda at this time?
Sorry, can I just say really quick, I'm going to have to abstain on number 13 because I was out of town until late last night and I was unable to follow up with anybody. So I'm abstaining just because I don't have an answer on just that one item.
All right, thank you, no worries. Seeing no other hands or requests for additions to the agenda, can we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Galata. Second. Is that Vice Chair Lacroix?
Yes, yes, yes.
All right, thank you so much. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The meeting agenda has been approved. And we will now move on to item number 3, which is the approval of our meeting minutes. These minutes were sent out for all members for review. Are there any? I'm sorry. Oh, were there any amendments to the minutes? Okay, seeing none. Can we have a motion to approve the meeting minutes?
I'll move this item for approval.
I'm like, is the recording
Second.
secretary allowed to?
Second.
Thank you, Member Barry, for seconding that. Can we do this by acclamation? All members, or can we do this without objection? I'm sorry. Okay, without objection, this motion passes and the meeting minutes are approved. We will now move on to general public comment. This is item number 4 on our agenda, and this is an opportunity for the general public to engage with the members of the Democratic Party and speak on any items of interest on the agenda. I will turn this portion of the meeting over to our Executive Director, Moises Garcia, to help facilitate this portion of the meeting. So thank you again, Director Garcia.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany. If you would like to make public comment, please use the raise hand function, which can be found at the bottom of your screen. If you are listening to this meeting via your phone, please dial *9 to enter the queue. If you encounter any difficulties, please send an email to info@sfdemocrats.org. Each speaker will have 1 minute to address the SF-DCCC. I will promote folks in the order that I see your hands raised, and thank you for your patience. Great. I see, Chair, there are 9 hands raised. Great, and I've brought up Susan Pfeiffer, followed by Simon Timoney, and then Eric Meebust. Go ahead, Susan.
Good evening, fellow Democrats. Hi, I may look a little windblown today because I spent time at a pop-up of the San Francisco Food Bank out at Stonestown, and it was rather windy. I have 2 things to report on. One is our voter registration project with the San Francisco School District. One little hitch that came up, and Moises, you don't know this yet, that I discovered I screwed up somewhere and did not print enough of the postcards. And we can't afford to print what we need. So I will work with you if you have time this week to try to create a poster version of the postcard, the front of it, and I can print 11 by 17 and laminate, and we can hold those up. But if we can do a black and white of the front of the postcard, that I can make I can put those on the ironing boards, and we can hand those out with the QR code, and we will make it work. As Project Runway always said. The other thing is we have a lot of volunteers. I need more volunteers for the early morning and late night shifts. If anyone is interested in helping, it's at Kezar Stadium, May 31st, June 1st, and June 2nd. They are weekdays, and the morning shift is 7:30 to 11, and the afternoon shift is 6 to 8. There's 4 schools per day that cycle their graduations there through there. Secondly is the Bay Area Coalition, the phone banks. And after what happened yesterday in Texas that we're all recovering from, there is just a more intense need than ever that we need to elect more Democrats in Congress. This is the year that we've got to get the majority back in the Senate and save it and increase it in the House. So what's going to do it is making phone calls and knocking on doors. Right now, we're not texting, but the phone calls really give you that one-on-one connection with the voters. This Saturday from 10 to noon, we're going to be calling the Central Valley, CA 22, and I believe Arizona. I'm checking on that. We've been doing Arizona, Nevada, and California, and they've been varying. Tonight, I believe they had a Zoom with Catherine Cortez Masto live on it that I wasn't able to be on. Was anyone here on that earlier? Maybe not. She's the senator whose job we are trying to save and keep Nevada blue. So I'm just going to put a plea out there to please sign up and make the calls because it's getting critical now. And we can't look back and say, I wish I had. So that's my nudge. Thank you.
Thank you, Susan. Sorry, just a reminder, I should have mentioned that associate members have floor privileges and are allowed additional time, limited time. Great. Simon Timoney, I'm going to ask you to unmute. Go ahead. Oh, you're on mute.
Thank you. Okay. I thank you guys for allowing us to speak. I can't wait till this recall is over so we can all go back to working on like 90% of things together. I do have to address that abortion flyer that went out. And what I'm not going to do is probably what any other supporter of Prop H is going to say here tonight. I am supporting the recall, even though I did vote for Chesa. I am just here to say I get it. And I understand why the flyer went out. I understand the tactic. Because the thing is that what do you do when your team is down 20 points to go in the fourth quarter with like 2 minutes to go? You got to throw that Hail Mary. And that's all that was. And it's a wild last ditch effort to throw shit at a wall to see what sticks. And I'm sorry, that's exactly what that flyer was shit. I think the flyer was dumb. I think it's going to backfire. It doesn't look good. And unlike you, I think that SF voters and Democrats in particular are a lot smarter than you're giving them credit for. So just need to address that. Thank you all. Have a good night.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Eric Mibus. You could unmute.
Hi, yeah, I'm here to talk about item number 13, resolution urging SF Pride to consider collective living next year. My name is Eric. I've been a resident of Dubois Triangle for 4 years now, and this is such a critical issue right now. Right now, we're seeing the worst attack on LGBT rights in over a decade. MAGA Republicans in 36 states have introduced over 300 bills attacking LGBT rights, and these bills are attacking what are known to be proven interventions to help with just the really tragic epidemic of suicide among queer and trans youth. They're trying to take away gender-affirming healthcare for minors, and which has been criminalized now in Alabama and has been restricted in 5 other states. These attacks are really brutal. They're really harsh, and they're getting a lot worse. In 2016, the last time there was a big push for these kinds of anti-LGBT bills, only 1 bill passed. This year, there's been 4 bills attacking trans healthcare, 2 don't say gay bills. There's been 5 states that passed sports bills. They're getting worse, and they're going to keep getting worse, and we have to stand up and do something. So there's this proposal has been forward by the Milk Club and by the Alice Toklas Democratic Club. We think that beginning next year, corporations that are supporting the politicians behind these bills, the politicians that are also giving a platform to hate and against LGBT people by using terms like groomer and child abuse.
Thank you for your comments.
Gender-affirming healthcare. This is an important way to stand up and to make a statement that these attacks are unacceptable, and to cut out the knees kind of behind the Republicans and the politicians behind.
Next is Forrest Liu. If you could unmute, followed by Rachel Salzberg.
Hi, members of the San Francisco DCCC. My name is Forrest, and I'm here speaking to you under my capacity as an individual, a resident of San Francisco, and an Asian community activist. I've been a lifelong Democrat and a lifelong supporter of criminal justice reform, sensible policing, and I understand that restorative justice is part of Asian culture. And I can't ever imagine what it would be like to have my life torn apart by a criminal justice system that is broken and needs repair. But I do support the recall of District Attorney Chesa Boudin. And when I look around me, I see nothing but other Asian activists who have stood up to stop Asian hate. And to say that our right to organize, to make our community feel safe, is a Republican ideal, is the very definition of racism. that we don't have a right to stand up for our community when our elders feel unsafe, to be dismissed when we're trying to make our voice heard and exercise our democratic right is racism. And I implore all of you to issue a formal apology
Thank you for your
for
comment.
the words that you have said.
Next is Rachel Salisbury.
Salisbury. Hi, my name is Rachel Salisbury. I'm a resident of San Francisco and one of the proponents of agenda item 13, a resolution urging Pride to consider political giving records of corporations that seek to partake in the event, both as sponsors and as participants. It's easy to focus on what happens in California or in San Francisco and forget about red states, but we need to remember that LGBTQ youth in other parts of the country aren't responsible for living in Republican-controlled states, and they will suffer the consequences of these anti-LGBTQ laws. So it's our responsibility to use our relative privilege to protect them. Money is power. Positive publicity is money. Corporations will profit from our Pride event and spend that money getting anti-LGBTQ politicians elected. Whether they're being intentionally duplicitous or just careless, corporations shouldn't be allowed to play both sides. Any corporation that gives financially to politicians that put forward anti-LGBTQ laws should not get to advertise themselves as an ally at SF Pride. We urge SF Pride to establish a vetting criteria that requires any participating corporate entities to denounce this type of legislation and not give any donations to sponsors of the legislation. While that might mean a shorter Pride parade, we can.
Next is Tan Nguyen, followed by Pauline Fayer.
Hey, how are you? This is Tuan Nguyen. I am the chairman and CEO of the Asian American National Committee. Moses, I sent you an email this morning. I hope you received that. And thank you, Chairman Mahogany, allow me to give a speech. Basically, our office, we are a national organization. We are authorized to represent all Asian Americans and others, Native Americans throughout the United States for the last 22 years. We're very proud of that. We also support and help Native American as well. So we are in full support of the SGR 13 that is regarding the reinstatement of the federal recognition of the Mohican tribe. And as you know, this is a reinstatement. It is not requesting for something new. A mistake was made back in 1978. Somehow the left that tribe name out of the out of the roster. So we want to correct that change. Okay. Mohican tribe, the chairman Charlene, she's a great person, great organization. I've been dealing with them for a while, and so we're asking for your support. Some of the detractors would say that this is not the forum fault, and I just totally disagree. That we have the right, under the U.S. Constitution, to petition government, right?
Thank you for your comments.
Yes, and so we ask for your assistance.
Next is Pauline Fayer, if you could unmute, followed by Lee Penish.
Hi, good evening. This is Paulina Fayer. So I lived in San Francisco for almost 30 years since my family immigrated from Ukraine. And, I'm a Democrat, and I'm just following up on Simon Timothy's comment and kind of adding a couple of my own words regarding the flyer that went out. So especially in view of, everything that Republicans are doing wrong, that we want to denounce, are trying to gain power federally and, stop some of these horrible actions that are happening. Putting out a flyer like that is so dishonest and so disingenuous, that doesn't even mention the CHASA recall, that doesn't even mention CHASA, that where the two largest fonts are about abortion and, just Prop H, is, I mean, it's so dirty. And that's something that I would expect of Republicans, not Democrats. And I can't even express my disappointment. When I saw that, I don't know, I tore it up, rolled my eyes, got upset, texted people, and it was like, I cannot believe this is coming from the Democrats. I'm disappointed. I don't know who signed off on it. It's unfortunate. And I think, you guys need to issue an apology and rethink what you do
For
in
your
the future.
comments. Next is Lee.
Hi, thank you. I'm Lee Panich, and I'm an associate professor of anthropology at Santa Clara University. I'm calling in about item 10, the resolution in support of Ohlone tribal recognition. The Muwekma Ohlone tribe is today the largest contemporary political organization representing the indigenous communities who occupied the San Francisco Bay Area prior to the arrival of Europeans. There's a wealth of historical, ethnographic, archaeological, and now genetic evidence that connects the tribe with their ancestors who lived here in pre-colonial times and who were later associated with the Spanish colonial missions of San Francisco, San Jose, and Santa Clara. Ohlone survivors of those particular missions regrouped at the Alasal Rancheria in neighboring locales in the East Bay in the second half of the 19th century. This community persisted into the 20th century and was eventually known to the Bureau of Indian Affairs as the Verona Band of Alameda County. That vibrant tribal community was written off by both the BIA and various anthropologists in the 1920s, effectively leading to the loss of their previously held federal recognition, as the previous caller mentioned. Nevertheless, these various lineages maintain cohesion in the face of dispossession, and today their descendants comprise the membership of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. So I'm urging you to support your resolution in support of SJR 13. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Brittany Marguerite, followed by Les Field.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for the opportunity to share with you today. My name is Dr. Brittany Margetti. I'm a historian and also a teacher of 8th graders in the San Francisco Bay Area. And I wanted to speak in support of item 13 on the agenda. Kids in the San Francisco Bay Area have the unique ability of knowing and understanding that school is a safe space. And I know it sounds very strange to say that in light of what happened yesterday, but kids know here that they can be themselves at school. And for many of our students, that means that they have the opportunity uniquely at school and not often in their homes to explore their gender and sexual identities in an open and supported way. Our kids know that their teachers are there to answer their questions, to support and uphold them on their journey, and to give them the opportunity to just be kids where being queer or LGBTQ+ is not a big deal. And that is an amazing opportunity that many children in the United States do not have. It is our responsibility as members of the queer community in San Francisco and as allies to support the children who do not have those opportunities throughout the country by preventing corporations that support Don't Say Gay bills from participating in our pride that these kids will attend in a couple of years. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Les Field.
Hi, my name is Les Field, and I'm calling from Albuquerque, New Mexico. I'm a professor of anthropology and former chair of the Department of Anthropology at the University of New Mexico. I've worked with the Muwekma Ohlone tribe since 1991 in helping them to assemble the materials for their federal acknowledgement petition and other aspects of their cultural revival and political movement towards federal recognition. As mentioned by other speakers, including my colleague, Dr. Panich, this is a reaffirmation of a previously unambiguous recognition. In other words, this is not a call for a newly recognized tribe or for new recognition. It's a call for reaffirmation of previously unambiguously recognized status. And I call on the Democratic Party of San Francisco to support their resolution in favor of this action. I just want to say on a personal note that I began working with the Muwekma Ohlone because, as the son of a Holocaust survivor, when I read in the 1925 Handbook of the Indians of California by Alfred Kroeber, the founder of the Department of Anthropology at the University of California, Berkeley, that the Ohlones were extinct, I rejected that, and I decided that as an anthropologist, it was my responsibility to help to seek the reaffirmation of their status and to reverse the extinction sentence that had been passed on them by anthropologists. I profoundly thank the Democratic Party for their support, and I urge them to vote in favor of this resolution. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Will Paisley, followed by Matthew Roa.
Hi, my name is Will Paisley. I'm a member of the Navajo and Blackfeet Nations, and I'm Two-Spirit and a resident of San Francisco. I'm here to echo support for agenda item number 13, given the imperative nature of San Francisco Pride, specifically allowing corporations that actually support LGBT rights nationally to not misuse the very important nature of Pride as a public-facing event to further their corporate image, while in fact negating rights of LGBT individuals across the country. And also, obviously, I would like to support the federal recognition of the Muwekma tribe. As an enrolled member of a tribe myself, I can say how imperative it is to have federal recognition for your tribal community to survive, thrive, and continue in this society. As a Stanford grad, I've worked personally with the Muwekma chairman as well. And they are wonderful people, and they deserve so much more than what the Bay Area and the federal government has done to them. Thank you for your time.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Matthew Roa. Matthew, if you could unmute.
Sorry about
Matthew.
that.
Okay.
This is Matthew Roy. My husband and I have lived in San Francisco for 20 years, and we're currently raising 2 children here. As an elected delegate to the Democratic Party, I was shocked to see that the SF DCCC paid for and approved the most recent mailer for Chesa Boudin, which was misleading and factually incorrect. You have embarrassed yourself in front of the SF voters. You have lost all credibility. Honey, I would really like to know who is responsible for approving this. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Lange Luntao.
Lang.
Mispronunciation.
No worries.
Lang, sorry about that.
My name is Lang Luntao. Thank you for allowing me to speak briefly. I'm an educator, former Queer Students and Allies Club advisor, member of SF Pride, and a Democrat living in Cole Valley. I'm just coming very briefly to thank Chair Mahogany for bringing item number 13, the resolution urging SF Pride to consider political giving as they vet corporate sponsorship in the coming year, to the DCCC, and to really urge the DCCC to take bold and quick action on this. Some of the other community members that have spoken tonight made the case for why it's so important that we as Democrats in the Bay Area take action to defend the rights of queer young people around the country. And I'd also just like to add that this is a sensible, reasonable resolution for the DCCC to take action on tonight. The resolution mirrors very closely the actions that Seattle Pride announced earlier this spring when they decided that Amazon did not deserve to be a presenting sponsor of their Pride celebration. And we think it's a wonderful opportunity for this entity, this board, to speak out about our values and stand in solidarity with Democrats and progressives around the country to ensure that the rights of queer youth and their families are protected. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Emily Cambra, followed by Gloria Gomez.
Hi, my name is Emily. Can you hear me well? My name is Emily Cambra, and I'm here with John Cambra. And we're here to ask for your support for the resolution. We're tribal members of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, and we're here to ask for your support with this resolution and your vote. Because we're here, our children and grandchildren are here, and we really would, we encourage your support.
Thank you for your comments. Gloria Gomez.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Jorge Tuhi. Hello, my name is Gloria Gomez. I'm a former tribal council member for the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. I would like to speak in support of item number 10. I served on the Muwekma Tribal Council for 24 years. It was the greatest honor of my life to serve my people in their struggles, our struggles for justice. I only have a moment, so instead of speaking to you from my words, I want you to hear from some voices of others in the community that have recently written letters supporting Muwekma's federal recognition. From UC Berkeley Chancellor Carol Carol Price, she said, after decades of struggling to clarify their sovereign status, it is time to give the Muwekma people the justice they deserve and to have their government-to-government status restored. Stanford University, Dr. Laura Jones said the major universities of the San Francisco Bay Area and the scholars housed within have endorsed the Muwekma Ohlone tribe's authenticity and continuing presence in our communities. The Muwekma Ohlone tribe is the only organized tribal government in the San Francisco Bay Area. Genealogical and historical records demonstrate tribal members' direct connection to all 3 Bay Area Franciscan missions. Hearst Museum of Anthropology Director Laura Crote said at Berkeley in the Hearst Museum, we inherit the legacy of famed UC anthropologist Alfred Kroeber, who in 1925 wrongly wrote that the Ohlone people were extinct, quote unquote. Even Kroeber later recognized his mistake, delivering testimony in subsequent decades in an attempt to correct himself and recognize the survivorship of the
comments.
Thank you. Please support our resolution. Thank you.
Next is Monica Arellano, followed by Julie Dominguez.
Poshituhi. My name is Monica Arellano. I'm the vice chairwoman for the Muwekma Ohlone tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. I've been on our tribal council for over 25 years, and in this time I have seen the struggles to restore our status weighs heavily on our people. When we first started our journey 40 years ago, we had 13 living members from the historic Rona band questioning how they took their sovereignty without any legal process. Today, we have only 1 remaining member alive from the Rona band, Hank Alvarez, who is over 100 years old. Hank served proudly in World War II and still questions how he was under federal jurisdiction when he went into war, and when he returned, he no longer was. Since I don't have much time, I'd like to name a few institutions and organizations that support our federal recognition. UC Berkeley, Stanford University, Santa Clara University, San Jose State University, Cal State East Bay, University of New Mexico, Federation of Philippine American Chamber of Commerce, Asian American National Committee, San Francisco Public Utilities Commission, Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District, Santa Clara Valley Open Space Authority, Santa Cruz District, California State Parks, Showing Up for Racial Justice, Santa Cruz County, Green Foothills, City of San Jose, City of Richmond, City of Milpitas, La Raza Roundtable de California, Indian Health Center, Santa Clara Valley, and so many more. And there are also Justice for Muwekma students organizing at Stanford University, Santa Clara University, San Jose State, and Cal State East Bay. Please support and stay on. Thank you.
Thank you for your comment. Next is Julie. Go ahead.
Porchetuhi, Kanakraka, Julie Dominguez. Good evening, everyone. My name is Julie Dominguez. I'm also a member of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. And I also urge for your support for the passive resolution for SJR 13, the reaffirmation of federal recognition for our Muwekma Ohlone tribe. As a mother of 2, understanding history, I cannot rewrite what has been done, but I can be a voice for what happens in the future, where you all stand today. I just want to share quickly is just a quick story of what the federal recognition and echo a lot of the members and the supporters that have already spoken. Just recently, in March, we danced with our members in revitalizing the dance of over 100 years. So if I know that I can see that in my decade, I feel strongly that we can see the reaffirmation or federal recognition passed in my lifetime, and for my children to move forward, with revitalizing more of our cultural practices, our language, and our traditions. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Bianca, followed by Lanier Cole, and then Jennifer Yang. Go ahead, Bianca.
Hi, Bianca Von Krieg, transgender candidate for U.S. House of Representatives, District 11. Thank you for your time. On Friday, April 28th, we posted our campaign flyers around the DC Mall from the White House to the Supreme Court. That same week, Nancy Pelosi was campaigning in Texas for quote unquote Democratic Congressman Henry Cuellar, one of the last few remaining pro-life holdouts in Congress. The following Monday, the second Roe v. Wade provisional opinion was released. Same day, we also spoke on the steps of the Supreme Court just before Senator Warren. In the ballot guide, I vowed to vote for progressive agenda or suss out the traitors like Cuellar, Sinema, and Mnuchin. If you are a warrior of pro-choice and you continue to support Pelosi, you're a fool of the highest order. The definition of idiocy is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. She had 37 years to fix this and did nothing. nothing changes until something changes. When those candidates like, you know who I'm talking about, the last two Trump appointed were being nominated, we contacted our contact. Is that my time?
Thank you for your comment.
All right,
Yes.
thank you. I think it's www.bianca.
Next is Lanier Coles, followed by Jennifer Yang, and then Chelsea Waity. Go ahead, Lanier.
Hi, good evening. Yeah, my name is Lanier Coles, and I'm calling to express my extreme disappointment with the advertisement that the DCCC sent out for Prop H. There are tens of thousands of registered Democrats in San Francisco who support the recall of Chesa Boudin. I am one of them. Not only am I a registered Democrat, I'm also an elected delegate to the Democratic Party representing 8019 in San Francisco. We followed the democratic process to collect signatures to get the recall on the ballot. We are currently having a disagreement among Democrats in the city of San Francisco with respect to the recall of Chesa Boudin. We should let that play out, and we should be fair and honest about it. Reproductive rights and gun law reform are basic tenets that we are fighting for in this country. And for the DCCC to pervert the issue of reproductive rights with the recall of Chesa Boudin is disingenuous and frankly damaging to the Democratic Party. We need to have a unified voice on these issues. And I am incredibly disappointed that you would pervert reproductive rights. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Jennifer Yang.
Hi, good evening. My name is Jennifer Yan. I am a resident in District 2. I am a Chinese American and first generation immigrant from China. I'm also calling to address and express my disappointment with the recent misleading and factually incorrect no on age mailer paid by the DCCC. This is my first time calling in. I don't know who made the decision to approve this mailer, which falsely calls the Chesa Boudin recall campaign Republican-led and part of a right-wing agenda. Neither of these statements are true. And I quite frankly find it very insulting given that since Chesa became the DA, hate crime against Asian Americans has gone up 5 times, and his record of prosecuting domestic violence or repeated drug dealers is terrible. So as a Democrat who supports the Chesa Boudin recall, I'm appalled that the DCCC would create a flyer that opportunistically used the recent threat to Roe v. Wade and reproductive freedom as a tool to salvage Chesa Boudin's political career. These are completely separate issues. And in my mind, this actually impacts the credibility of the Democratic Party in San Francisco in a huge and negative way. As we know that the recall is led by Mary Zhang, a lifelong Democrat and a former chair of the DCCC, Democrats should do better. This honest campaign is a Trump-like tactic that has no place in a democratic discourse. We need to reject this brand of deceptive behavior. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your comments. Next, I'm going to ask a member who called in, phone number ending in 3176 to talk. Go ahead, caller. Caller ending in 3176. Can't hear you at the moment.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Hello?
Go ahead. Yes, go ahead.
I want to start by announcing that I am a San Francisco Democrat. The irony of your immature and petty cease and desist letter is that you are not. You are socialists masquerading as Democrats. And I have no judgment about you being socialist other than I think you should admit it and stop selling yourselves as Democrats. Your shameful letter was actually a good thing because it, coupled with your disgusting endorsement of the fear-mongering No on H mailer, has exposed this committee for the out-of-touch, angry, and possibly mentally ill group that you actually are to the average San Francisco Democrat. Based on the viscerally angry and negative response to both the mailer and the cease and desist letter, true San Francisco Democrats realize that their local committee is not a Democratic club at all. It's a collection of angry socialists who project their wild conspiracies and pain into one big stain on our party. The overt egregiousness of every move you make has finally slapped the average San Francisco Democrat in the face hard enough to wake them up to who you really are, and we reject you. Enjoy your positions now, because come 2024, you'll be nothing more than just another bunch of irrelevant haters on the fringe that nobody listens to.
Hi, I just wanted to, if it's okay with Chair Mahogany, I see that there's a point of order from Member Ting, and I also had some comments that I wanted to make just as parliamentarian housekeeping type stuff.
Oh yes, please go ahead, Vice Chair Lacroix.
But I see there was a point of order first. I just wanted to acknowledge.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chakal.
Yeah, I appeal to the chair. I'm not okay with people saying that people are mentally ill. That is simply not acceptable, and I would encourage you to shut down any comments like that in the future.
Thank you, Mr. Chakal. I do err on the side of allowing the public to speak during public comment. I have not generally censored public comment, but I do agree that is not in good taste to use that type of language, even during public comment. But I do appreciate that point of order. Thank you, Mr. Chakal.
Additionally, as with my parliamentarian hat on, I just want to say that we had a meeting a few months back, it might have been a year already, that we encouraged both members of the DCCC and members of the public to have, to just be mindful of their language and mindful of how they speak to and about other human beings. And I just want to express that to members of the public as well during their public comment, that just continue to be respectful. We're all respectful in terms, you know, we have that level of expectation for everyone. And so I just want to make sure that that is expressed again to members of the public as you are providing public comment, to please maintain a level of respect during your comments, and to direct your comments to the DCCC as a whole and not directed to any individual member of this body. Thank you, Chair Mahogany, for allowing me to say something.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lacroix. If I may just add, you know, I do understand that this specifically this recall is a very emotional issue, and that people have very strong feelings around it. And so even if I disagree with folks, I do understand that. I do not think it's okay to abuse people verbally or otherwise in any forum. But I do think that, you know, we in these positions are, we are city leaders, and we were elected by the people to be here. And I do, you know, it is hard to hear some of the things that the public has to say. But again, I don't want to censor people from providing public comment, but I do agree that it would be far better if we could all be at least civil and polite and maintain a sense of order and decorum, and also realize that these are not paid positions. These are all volunteer jobs, that everyone here is volunteering their time and doing what they think is best and right. So there may be disagreement on what that is, but we are here together, and I do recognize that we are all Democrats and we may disagree, but again, would also encourage folks to be respectful. Just a point of clarification, are there any rules specifically around the type of language that can be used during public comment?
None that come to mind as of now, but I think there is a general statement of just, oh my God, I'm blanking on the word, but just like
decorum,
being courteous and being mindful of the language that you use, and being decorum. Thank you.
All right, well, I appreciate that. Thank you both to Mr. Chakal and also to Vice Chair Lacroix. Let's please continue with public comment if there are any more public commenters.
Yes, Chair Mahogany, there are 3 or 4 more members of public. I can't recall if Chelsea YT already spoke.
Hi, I have not yet.
Okay, great, go ahead.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Chelsea Waite, and I'm calling in on my own accord. I wanted to amplify the comments shared this evening by my fellow Democrats, Paulina Fayer, Simon Timoney, Lanier Coles, Jennifer Yan, and many, many others who weren't able to be here. What happened with the latest No on H flyer was a full-blown political trope and actually creates an aversion around the topic of access to abortion, which, as you know, is a critical conversation for us to be having right now. The misinformation you are spreading is nothing short of a right-wing smear campaign and personally goes against everything I stand for as a proud lifelong Democrat. I also request that you issue an apology on behalf of the Democratic Party. And as someone who works in communications, I would strongly recommend reconsidering the messaging used for future marketing campaigns. I yield my time.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Jade 2.
Hi, everyone. My name is Jade, and I'm a lifelong resident of San Francisco and a proud Democrat. I am disappointed by the SFDCCC and the recent No on H mailer. I want to make it clear that people behind the recall are not white Republican billionaires. It's shameful to hear Chesa opportunistically using Roe v. Wade and reproductive rights to try and salvage his career. As the Asian community suffers from Chesa's bad policies, our elders have become target practice and have been pushed, shoved, and murdered. Shame on you guys for endorsing Chesa, and shame on you for letting that ridiculous mailer hit our streets.
Thank you for your comments. Next is Alan Leventhal.
So first, I want to thank you for holding these public comments. I'm Alan Leventhal. I've been a Democrat since 1969. I came to San Jose State University in 1978 and commenced working with the Muwekma tribe in 1980 on 12,000 years sites that go back 12,000 years in the greater San Francisco Bay Area. I've also been involved in helping to co-write their petition. We submitted in 6 linear feet of documentation. They were first federally recognized in 1906 through the Congressional Acts for Landless Indians. It was Phoebe Apperson Hearst and her husband, Senator George Hearst, that purchased part of their rancheria in the 1880s. They're the ones who invited Alfred Kroeber down. They would enroll with the Bureau of Indian Affairs from 28 to 32, 48 to 57, 68 to 71. Their children went to Indian boarding schools in the 30s and the 40s. In 1989, under the Base Closure Act, the Muwekma, as a landless tribe, put in a claim at the San Francisco Presidio. The San Francisco...
Thank you for your comments.
Thank you.
Next is Charlene. Go ahead, Charlene.
Yes, thank you. Horshay Mur, that is good evening in our Chochenyo language. Thank you, honorable delegation. I'm the chairwoman for the Muwekma tribe of the San Francisco Bay Area. I want to thank you all for allowing me to speak on behalf of my people regarding State Resolution SJR 13. I don't have much time, so I'm going to be very brief in general about our history and our struggles. The Muwekma tribe is comprised of all the known surviving American Indian lineages aboriginal to the San Francisco Bay region. All the members trace their ethno-historic origins from the indigenous tribes of the Bay Area who were living on the land that they had continuously occupied since before the mission period. And validating our long presence in the San Francisco Bay Area, Stanford and Illinois researchers recently published a 7-year genomic study that connected the present-day Muwekma Ohlone Tribal Council members to a 2,000-year-old Ohlone burial site, which proves what the tribe has always been saying for decades, that we are the people from the San Francisco Bay Area. We have thousands of years of human history on these lands, and we are still here today. We became federally recognized in the early 1900s, and our status was never terminated by Congress or any other means. But because of the negligence of the Bureau of Indian Affairs, we were left off the first official list of recognized tribes in 1978. And we have spent the last 40 years fighting to restore our status. We have 550 BIA documented enrolled tribal members who are directly descendant from the previously federally recognized.
Thank you for your comments. Thank you for your comments. The last person is Beverly Talbot.
Hi, Thank you. I am calling to address the misleading and incorrect no on H mailer. As a Democrat who supports the Chesa Boudin recall, I'm really appalled that that this committee would create a flyer that uses the threat to Roe versus Wade as a tool to link it to the Yes on H campaign. I mean, it makes no sense. Nearly 1 in 10 San Francisco residents signed the petition to recall Chesa Boudin. That is more votes than he got in the election. And Mary Zhang, who is a lifelong Democrat and, as you know, is a former chair of the DCCC, is the chair of the committee that gathered the signatures. It just really makes no sense. And I join other people who've spoken tonight in calling you all to apologize for this. It's very insulting. We're all Democrats, and let it play out without flinging mud. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. There's one last speaker, Chair Sheila Guzman-Schmidt. Go ahead and unmute.
Por Shemur, Kanakarakat Sheila Guzman-Schmidt. Good evening, my name is Sheila Guzman-Schmidt. I'm a member of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe, and I currently sit on the tribal council, which I have done for close to 20 years. Our people have suffered many wrongs since we were unjustly terminated in the early 1900s. I urge you to please support SJR 13. My father was just an infant when that occurred, when they were wrongfully terminated, and he has long since been gone. And so now I feel that it is my time to continue and to fight for justice for our people and honor our culture, our elders, and our future. So thank you very much for allowing me to give my comment and your support.
Thank you for your comments. Chair, that was the last caller.
Thank you so much, Director Garcia, and thank you to the members of the public that came out to speak during general public comment. We will now be moving on to the reports from the officers, and we will start with the chair's report. I just want to say really briefly that there has been a lot that has been going on this month. It's been kind of an insane few weeks. Obviously everything from the Supreme Court leaked memo, the draft opinion that shows that we may be seeing the overturning of Roe v. Wade in the next month, and as well as the many mass shootings that we've seen, including those at Uvalde, Texas, and where we had 19 children die, and also 10 in the Buffalo, New York shooting, and the many other mass shootings across our country. It's been really rough, I think, for a lot of people seeing that happen. And yet we know that there are things that could be that we could be doing to really improve that. And I want to underscore how important it is for all of us to get involved. We, as the San Francisco Democratic Party, do have partnerships with Swing Left, and we'll be opening a Red to Blue office here in San Francisco. And we will be calling all across the nation and across our state to ensure that we are electing more pro-choice, more Democrats, so that we won't have a legislature in Congress that is stopping us from passing federal rights for access to abortion, and that is also going to protect our youth and perhaps finally pass common sense gun laws at the federal level so that we do not have these things happening again. So I just want to urge all of our Democrats to come together on this and to make sure that we are working together to get more Democrats elected and more pro-choice people elected so that we won't have to deal with this anymore. The next thing that I wanted to actually talk about, sorry, not talk about, but I wanted to introduce, I've been speaking with Recording Secretary Lee around our Black and API unity work as a Democratic Party. And we will be continuing those conversations. But one of the things that Secretary Lee had brought to us was that, obviously they're from Buffalo, New York, and they have close friends and connections to that city, including people who have been doing the work there and who are here to speak on what happened there just a few months ago, or I'm sorry, just a few days ago. I just want to say that, there have been a lot of racially motivated attacks that have happened across our country. And for me, it is really, really important to build solidarity and unity between Black and API communities everywhere, and also especially here in San Francisco. There's a lot of work to be done. I acknowledge that, and I could certainly do more work. I think we all could, and I would like us to continue to do that work together and to continue to strive to build unity. So with that, I'd like to now turn it over to Jen McCosey, who is an incredible community leader from Buffalo, New York. She was elected to the Buffalo Public School Board in 2016 and also leads Local Progress New York, New York's organizing committee, and is a longtime community organizer. So please welcome Ms. Jen McCosey.
Thank you.
Sorry, Chair. Janice also had some
I'm
comments.
so sorry. Thank you.
Apologies.
I'll turn it over to Recording Secretary Lee, and then we'll hear from Ms. McCosey.
Thank you, Edie Garcia. I have really brief intro remarks here. So Chair, I want to really thank you for giving space for us to grieve tonight. We are seeing women targeted like in Dallas spa shootings. Churches are no longer spaces of refuge like in Orange County, and our children are being hunted down and killed like in Uvalde, Texas. But the shooting that, as mentioned, that really hit home for me was when a white supremacist spent months in a premeditated attack at a Tops supermarket in my hometown, Buffalo, New York, and murdered 10 people, all Black residents of Buffalo, on a Saturday afternoon in a grocery store. This white supremacist knowingly targeted this Tops supermarket because it was in a predominantly Black neighborhood. This is unconscionable, and our bodies were not built to carry so much trauma and pain. And yet again, we are always called again to act. I also think it's really important for us to hear from local voices, from community leaders who have been and continue to be doing the work in fighting for justice on the ground. I think some of you may know, before I moved out to San Francisco, I founded a youth drop-in center in Buffalo, New York, where I got to know some really incredible and powerful champions fighting against decades of disinvestment. They were organizing poor people and winning major campaigns to hold corporations accountable and beyond. So I've invited one of these incredible leaders. I knew her first as a board member, who got involved in this organization, Push Buffalo, just by door knocking. I think she was trying to take care of her 2 young kids at that time, who are now grown and incredible. She got involved in this organization, became an incredible community organizer, and briefly served as my boss too, when I was at Push, and has gone on to do so much more. So Jen, I'm so grateful that you're able to join us here today.
Thank you. Thank you. It's really good to see your face, Janice. I'm so sorry, y'all, but it really is. Like, I miss her. So I really appreciate the opportunity to be able to address you all. As Mo said, there's a lot of hats that I'm wearing, but I'm literally going to come to you as like a resident of Buffalo, New York, who's really struggling right now. And then you almost don't want to just focus in on Buffalo with what happened yesterday and what's been happening all across the country. And it just breaks my heart into a million pieces when you just don't know what to do. Do you send your kids to school? Do you not? It's the struggle is real. And I, as an elected official, especially one in the Buffalo public school system where, we're working with these babies daily. And 2 of those babies are pre-K students in a school that, these are my grandkids, and my son who's 11, who's in an elementary school. It just breaks my heart. But what we dealt with in Buffalo, New York, it doesn't supersede tragedy. This was a targeted shooting, right? And, we have divides. Everybody has divides, but Buffalo is really recognized as the 6th most segregated city in our country. and we don't have the resources. If we do have the resources, good old boy politics runs our city. You know, and I'm real about it. I could care less who's listening from my city. And as an elected, I stand up, and with local progress, being a progressive elected leader, co-chair of our New York State Organizing Committee, I'm calling out the same party that I am in, because we are run as a Democratic Party, but we have folks who are so interested in the silos and feeding, you know, gentrification and different things in our city. And I'm literally calling for, and I'm going to state this repeatedly, it's not because I'm looking for airtime, it's because I'm being serious. Whether we're in Buffalo or it's clearly across the country in San Francisco, how do we all come together to hold our elected officials accountable, right? You all as a Democratic committee, you know who's been in the till, you know, kind of dipping here and there in order to push their own agenda. My ask to you all is to help us help you. You guys are resourced in a great way. We're resourced in a great way, but how do we come together with best practices so that we know how to identify the same ugly that we face? Everybody has a different level. Everybody has different, you know, folks that they're dealing with, but underlying, who's the development? Who's doing the development, right? Who's the one, and who's getting the jobs? Who's making sure that the people that are going into office are actually held accountable? How do you hold your electeds accountable? Because we struggle in that department. You know, the machine has been running our system forever, and it's really hard to kind of break through. I'm running for my third term, and I have 3 opponents in a school board race whose only mission in life, you know, their entire platform is to bash Jen McCosey. And that's fine. It's public office. Do what you got to do. But come on, at least not be obvious about why you're there. You know, we all deal with that. So I am, you know, now that I truly know what Janice is doing over there, when we used to work together, I would harass. I would. And I'm going to continue to do that because I feel like, you know, our connection and ties as to how we can come together is real. What I also would like to see is, you know, Buffalo, I don't know how much you guys know, but Buffalo's been attacked in our school board levels and in our district because we are focusing a lot of our curriculum around culturally linguistic response initiatives. When in all actuality, we're not taking history, throwing it against the wall, see what letters stick, and then moving it around like Jenga pieces. No, we're actually teaching history the way that it should have been taught. If we didn't whitewash history the way that it has been whitewashed, we wouldn't have the tragedies that are happening. We would have laws and systems in place that would definitely be able to be a barrier for someone with a complete agenda, you know, an absolute agenda to come into our city. You know, we have our Democratic leaders like, oh, he wasn't from Buffalo, he was from 3 hours away. Yeah, he targeted us. He targeted us because we're the 6th most segregated city. What are we doing in order to make sure that's not our statistic? How are we helping each other? So I just really want for folks to be able to come together in how we talk to each other. Stop being complacent. If you see it happening as an elected official, as someone in the Democratic committee, if you see people speaking in ways that just are ugly, say something. Say something. You would feel much better about it in the future, in the long run. Say something. Some of the folks in these calls, you know, I also suggest that you read a statement before every single time you do public speaking that literally illustrates what your meeting's intent is and what you will do if somebody comes off ugly, and cut them off. Because you all don't need to be wasting your time with people who really feel as though they can be disrespectful and rude when you offer the opportunity to speak. With that, greetings from Buffalo. Keep us in mind. We totally, I would totally love to stick around for the rest of the meeting and meet with you guys offline sometime to see how we can interact and intersectionalities in the future. And thank you again for having me on.
Thank you, Jen McCosey. We really appreciate you coming to our meeting and staying up late because I know you're on East Coast time. So thanks again, and I hope you have a good night's rest.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, everyone. We will now move on to our next chair or our next report from Outreach from Member Lacroix.
Hi, everybody. So I'm kind of combining my report and Keith's because he is working this evening, saving our city from actual fires. We are meeting to kind of coordinate our efforts around voter registration and outreach, especially leading up to Election Day coming up soon. And so the outcome of that will be, we will be circulating a sign-up sheet for a list of outreach and voter registration dates coming up. And so be on the lookout for that. And that concludes our report. And I think one last thing, it's my favorite time of year, campaign election time. So again, once we reach out to everyone, please, please, please sign up for at least one day. I know we're all busy, all working on different campaigns that we have going on in the midst of life, because life still happens. But please take a moment out of your time to budget for the DCCC some either or voter registration and an outreach event. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lacroix, for covering also Vice Chair Baraka's portion. And I do want to just give a shout out to Susan Pfeiffer again for providing an update on the high school graduation voter registration drive and for all of your work. I don't think I said that earlier. So again, thank you to Susan Pfeiffer. You are indispensable to the San Francisco Democratic Party. And again, thank you to Vice Chair Lacroix and Baraka for their work on this issue as well. We will now move on to issues and resolutions with Vice Chair Lovett.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany. My voice is a little hoarse. I've just been traveling for 5 hours here and back in the Bay Area. Grateful to be back. And I hope that we can bring some sanity to our elections and to our politics in light of the tragedies that have been happening around the country and really around the world. And I want to make 3 quick points with regard to the attempt to recall DA Chesa Boudin. So on February 23rd, the San Francisco Democratic Party, our body, voted to oppose this attempt to recall DA Boudin. So we are saying, please vote no on H. And I won't belabor all the points that have been made in many, many op-eds, but the San Francisco Examiner editorial board said to oppose Chesa's recall and that he is guilty of keeping his campaign promise. So progressive reform of the criminal justice system is very difficult. Any effort to try to change our system is difficult. And I understand that Democrats are taking different sides, but I do not appreciate that we are conflating some issues, because as a Chinese American, I felt great sorrow that's been endured by elders and others who have been afflicted by hate incidents and violence. I have parents, I have a mom who lives not far away in Oakland, and she's pretty fearless. But, we need to hold everybody's feelings and everybody's fear without imposing our ideas about, who's the right person to be in the DA seat. That you cannot blame DA Chesa Boudin for the hate crimes that have been committed against Asian Americans. So setting that record straight. And then the other issue is that, yes, we're in a democracy. So there are Democrats who do not want Chesa Boudin in office. There are Republicans who do not want Chesa Boudin in office. And what I'm seeing in the news coverage is that the biggest super PAC that is backing the recall of Chesa Boudin has spent $1.8 million, and this is as of early April, to pull down Chesa Boudin, and half of that money is coming from William Obendorf. So Google that, read the articles, and then make your own conclusions. That's what I will say with regard to our endorsement to vote no on H. And we are supporting the efforts that we're all in earnest trying to do to reform a criminal justice system that is violent itself as a system. And we need to support one another in these times where we see so much violence and upheaval. Thank you, and I'm done.
Vice Chair Levitt, thank you very much for your leadership and for your words on this. I very much appreciate your chair's report. We will now move on to Vice Chair Galata for partnerships, and it seems like someone is echoing a bit. But go ahead, Vice Chair Galata.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany. Good evening, colleagues. I will be brief, but I just want to also just kind of echo Chair Mahogany, your comments earlier, and also just Susan Pfeiffer's public comment, and also just thank Susan Pfeiffer for all of her work, but especially for her leadership in supporting the party's involvement in the Bay Area Coalition and the phone banks that are happening every Wednesday, every Saturday. And really, the time is now for us to really be hitting the phones and getting out the vote, not only for June, but we know the midterms in November. That work is starting now and has been for months already. And reproductive rights are on the ballot, background checks, sensible gun laws are on the ballot. And there are key races here in California that I just want to underscore that I think we have an opportunity to really help win back seats, particularly in the Central Valley. And there are three candidates I just want us to really be keeping top of mind here in California. Rudy Salas, who's running in CA 22, Christy Smith, who's running in CA 27, and Jay Chen, who's running in CA 45, all Democrats who are running against Republicans who voted no on background checks. So these are three candidates that we have an opportunity to support heavily in the coming weeks, months. And I think that is the work that I hope the party and members and Democrats in San Francisco will help win those seats so that we can keep our House majority. And of course, supporting Democrats who are running in the Senate as well. So the phone banks, as I said, every Wednesday, Saturday, 2 hours. And I will just keep sharing that information out with you all. And I know we've got a lot that we're focusing on for June, but I hope that folks can join. And I also just want to just briefly, and thank you, Vice Chair Levitt, for your comments just on the party's positions and our endorsements for June. And I just want to also just briefly take a moment to speak on this. And I also want to just thank Chair Mahogany and Member Thomas and our Executive Director for our slate mail program and for the communications we have sent out to voters to make it very clear where the San Francisco Democratic Party's position is on all of the ballot measures, but particularly Proposition H. And I think we may disagree as Democrats, but what's clear is that there has been misinformation in this election. And I believe we are leading with facts. And as Vice Chair Levitt said, it is clear that this is a Republican-funded attempt to recall our district attorney. And the Republican Party has made it clear their position. They are yes on H. But it is important for us as a body that voted 20 to 2 in opposition to the recall that we make it clear that San Francisco Democrats and the Democratic Party oppose the recall. And there have been mailers put out that have tried to misrepresent the party's position. And so it is very important for us to make clear to voters where we stand. It is why we took action in issuing a cease and desist letter. And it is important for us to do everything we can in the next few weeks to make clear the party's position. And again, not all Democrats may agree, but there is clear consensus on this body and amongst many San Francisco elected leaders who are Democrats in our city on our position. So I just want to thank Chair Mahogany and Member Thomas, and again, our Executive Director, just for the work that went into putting out our mail program and reaching voters at this critical time. And I hope that we continue to be out there in the next few weeks, making clear our position. So thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Galata. We'll now move on to our committees, including fundraising for Member Thomas. Member Thomas on?
Yes, hello?
Awesome.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, I have some internet issues, so I'm on a mobile device right now. Thank you, Chair Mahogany and Vice Chair Galata for your comments. I want to echo the comments of all my colleagues that have spoken already regarding the work by the Democratic Party to combat misinformation. This Republican-funded recall that's endorsed by the Republican Party and is unequivocally opposed by the San Francisco Democratic Party. It is crowded with misinformation, but it is I'm very appreciative that folks have taken the time to make it absolutely clear that the Democratic Party is opposed to this recall and is supporting No on H. Regarding fundraising, I have a couple of quick updates. One is that we've done some extensive call time. As Chair Mahogany mentioned, it's been a crazy month, but we were able to still work the phones and do a tremendous amount of call time. I want to thank all the other members of the Democratic Party who assisted with it as well. We've been able to raise over 140K, and we have also begun proceeding to prepare for our fall fundraiser event. As we talked to everybody about last month, we were in the process of securing a location. We can now announce that we have secured the Palace Hotel for the Jackie Spear Lifetime Achievement event that we were planning for the end of August. We're really excited about it. We have secured not only the date, the hotel, and the services. They have waived their room fee as they are also huge fans of Congresswoman Spear. And now we are going to begin producing ask letters and initiating call time surrounding this event as well. So we're looking forward to calling all of you. You'll probably, some of you have gotten calls from me over the last few weeks. You'll be getting more of them as we prepare for this event and try to honor Congresswoman Spear's wonderful career. That's it.
Thank you, Member Thomas. We also have, we're going to be continuing the gender equity report since Member Morales could not be here today. She's ill. And I'm wondering if Vice Chair Levitt, we have a report on interns. Great, please proceed.
Yes, I think I'm unmuted now. So let me give an update because you've all been wondering what is happening with the summer SFD CCC internship program. So we're still working out the details around what the program and the projects will be for this year. We have a robust outreach list, and I've been working closely with ED Garcia with regard to that outreach. So this year, the takeaway is that we really want to focus on bring back our interns in person, and that's so important coming up to the November 2022 elections. Of course, June is around the corner. But in preparation for that, we are looking at least 2 high school interns and 2 college interns, prioritizing local San Franciscans, and the interns will be doing voter outreach and engagement, as they've done in the past, communications to our members and the public, and also partnerships. So this would run mid-June through mid or late August, depending on the students' schedules. And we have an interview committee, so thank you, Chair Mahogany, also Member Williams on the committee, and ED Garcia and myself will be doing the interviews in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. In a week, we will be releasing these applications, and we can't wait to meet our new interns, whom we should announce by the next meeting. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Levitt. Appreciate your work. I forgot that I was on that committee, but I will be there and I will be happy to interview those interns. Also, your haircut looks really good. I'm just gonna say that. It looks really good. Yours too, Gloria. Everyone has haircuts. All right, so we will now go on to a report from our executive director, going to get professional again, Executive Director Garcia, and he also will be reporting on our financial status since Treasurer Morales could not be here.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany. I'll keep it brief. Most of my work has been covered by other members, and so I'll just focus in on the Treasurer's report. We were going to present a budget at this meeting, but since Treasurer Morales is available, we decided to kick it one more month so we can dive into it more with her present. But I did want to just mention our fund balances, which are greatly improved from the last time we met in April. Currently, our federal account stands at $5,573, and our state account stands at $133,581. And that's primarily, it's really to the efforts of our fundraising chair, Thomas, and we are going to be in a really solid financial place for this coming year as we start to really fundraise with the Jackie Spear event, and then to support our November fundraiser. So we're looking to be in a much more solid footing than we have been in the previous couple quarters. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Director Garcia. I do not believe we have a report from our CDP Region 6 Director, Henny Kelly, do we? Okay, great. And at this time, we will now move on to item 6, which is a presentation on the Tribal Sports Wagering Act. So for more than 20 years, California voters have entrusted Indian tribes with the right to operate highly regulated casinos on their tribal lands, helping promote Indian self-sufficiency while generating tens of thousands of jobs and tens of billions in economic opportunity for California's economy. To build on this legacy, the Coalition for Safe, Responsible Gaming, led by California Indian tribes, has formed to urge a yes vote on the Tribal Sports Wagering Act, which will authorize in-person sports wagering at tribal casinos. As of today, it is the only gaming measure that has qualified for the November ballot. Presenting on this item is Alex Rooker. Alex served as CDP Vice Chair for 24 years, in addition to being a longtime DNC member. And before we turn it over to Mr. Rooker, we will play a short video. Is there audio that's supposed to be playing? There we go.
As we fought to for more than 2 decades, California Democrats have stood with Indian tribes as we fought to establish and protect gaming on our tribal lands.
As tribal leaders who have firsthand seen the transformative benefits that tribal gaming has had for our people, we want to say thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Gaming has helped lift our tribes out of poverty, providing funding for housing, infrastructure, schools, and other vital services. In return, Indian tribes continue to uphold our commitment to operate safe, responsible gaming.
Tribal gaming creates thousands of good-paying jobs and generates billions in revenue and economic opportunities for local communities and the state.
This year, there may be multiple measures on the November ballot related to sports wagering. Each would greatly impact our tribes and all of California.
We are respectfully asking delegates of the California Democratic Party to once again stand with California Indian tribes by opposing the corporate online gambling proposition and supporting the qualified in-person Tribal Sports Wagering Act.
The corporate online gambling proposition is sponsored by out-of-state and foreign gambling corporations. It would legalize online sports gambling across California, virtually every phone, tablet, and laptop into a gambling device.
The measure has no meaningful controls to prevent underage gambling or problem gambling.
This measure would give the out-of-state gambling corporations near total control of the sports wagering market in California, jeopardizing our sovereignty and tribal gaming operations.
It sends the vast majority of revenues out of the state and to foreign countries, while at the same time putting thousands of jobs in California at risk. Proponents are selling this deceptive measure as a solution to homelessness, but by trying to address homelessness through a massive expansion of online gaming is just bad policy.
On the other hand, the Tribal Sports Wagering Act would authorize a more responsible approach by allowing sports wagering in person at California's highly regulated tribal casinos.
This measure will create new sources of revenue, jobs, and opportunities for tribal and non-tribal communities alike, while providing additional resources for non-gaming tribes.
Our broad coalition of Indian tribes, social justice advocates, and community organizations is overwhelmingly united in opposition to the corporate online gambling proposition and in support of the in-person Tribal Sports Wagering Act.
We ask members of the California Democratic Party, please stand with California Indian tribes.
Please stand with California Indian tribes.
Please stand with California Indian tribes.
Please stand with California Indian tribes. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Director Garcia, for playing that for us. We will now move on to a presentation.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, Ms. Rooker.
Yes, thank you so much. Call me Alex, please. Chair Mahogany, and thank you to your ED, Moises Garcia, for putting this together for me. I am sitting, I don't know if you can see me, on the bumper of a truck because I'm doing double duty tonight. I'm at a United Farm Workers Foundation event, so I'm outside because inside it's a little loud. And so I apologize. Speaking of Susan Pfeiffer, I want to thank her too. She and I were on a phone bank last night for Malia Cohen, so she is everywhere. Thank you so much. What I'm asking for is, and Chairman Maccaro mentioned it in the video. I was around 24 years ago when Prop 5 was put forth on the ballot by the tribes because they were always getting sued saying that the gambling they were doing on their reservation was illegal. So they finally thought, we're going to put this to the voters. And so the Democratic Party helped them with that, and they passed Prop 5, which they were able to do Class 3 illegal gambling inside their tribes and on sovereign land. And it gave them they became self-reliant. They were able to help their folks. And, they deserve it. And they deserve to do, I say, go for all the things that's happened to them in the past, way before us, of course. But, they're very good neighbors. I was speaking at Yolo County and I was mentioning some of the things that Yocha Dehi was doing over there, that tribe, and they were chiming in and saying, well, don't forget about the food banks. Don't forget that they give to this. And I thought, well, that's really great. And they are very good neighbors. The Chairman Maccaro mentioned that there'd be several gaming propositions, but there'll only be two. Two of them dropped out, and this one already had qualified last year. And so I know you've probably seen the commercials, on corporate online. And that's exactly what they want to do, is do online gambling. They won't put one job in the state of California. And California is a lot of people. They can make a lot of money. So they'll make billions and take it out of state. And so, and that would jeopardize the tribes in their self-sufficiency. And for them, they want to grow jobs. And, some of those casinos have 5,000 plus employees. And they're very highly regulated. So I don't know what this they're proposing here and what the corporate online does, because I spoke to the former chair of the Democratic Party in Colorado. They go and they look at each state and see what's the issue there. In Colorado, it was water projects. So they said, look, if we can come in here and do an online gaming, then we'll give to your water project. So California, they saw the issue was homelessness. So they're very smart in how they're doing that. I expect to see a lot of money because they have a lot of money, much more than tribes or anyone else we know of, to put into California. So I'm expecting to see their commercials. But so what I'm asking is for us to stand with the tribes. They never ask us for anything. We have a Native American caucus. We don't have a corporate caucus. So I'm asking that we stand, and I'm asking the San Francisco County Central Committee to stand and possibly take a vote. I don't know what your process is, but yes on the Tribal Sports Wagering Act and no on the corporate online gaming proposition. So if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kerr, or I'm sorry, Alex, for coming and presenting for us. We cannot take a position on this because I believe it is a state measure, correct?
But yes, but I've checked with Kobe King. Ballot measures can be, and we already have support from many counties and regions already, like Madera, Shasta, Trinity, we're going up and down the state. So Kobe says ballot measures can be supported by county committees.
We can certainly submit resolutions in support of, well, actually, I'm not sure. I mean, per my understanding, those are the purview of the state party and we adopt those recommendations. And we have delegates from the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee who participate in that vote with the state party. But I don't believe as a body that we can actually take a position independent of the state party on any measure.
No, I understand what you're saying, but Kobe King is the parliamentarian for the state party. So I checked with him and he gave me the verbiage where it is allowed, but it's all up to your county. You're the chair of the county. I can also send over a resolution, but we are getting support from county central committees. I just want to let you know that. And I did check obviously with Kobe since I've worked with him for many, many years. And so I just wanted to let you know that, but every county's different. So I will also put forth a resolution for you all to look at. But the Native Americans have been step by step with us for 24 years. They give a lot of money to the California Democratic Party, not just yesterday, but from the very beginning. And you can look at the financials and you can see how much money the tribes help us. And as we go on, we can't take money from police unions and all these other entities. We need the tribes to continue being partners with us. And like I said, they never ask us for anything. They just always give when we call. And I was chair of the party for 6 months, and I know that I raised a lot of money from the tribes during that time. So thank you all for allowing me to do this presentation.
Okay, well, thank you, Alex. We appreciate your time, and perhaps we can refer this item to the Issues and Resolutions Committee, and they can discuss how we can most appropriately handle this. So
okay.
Thank you again for your
time.
Thank
you all. Thank you for all the work you're doing there in San Francisco County. I know you guys are precious and dear to all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you again for your time and for your presentation. Thank
you.
We will now move on to item number 7, which is the election of SF Democratic County Central Committee 3rd Vice Chair. Members, since I was elected as chair of the DCCC, I guess it's a year ago exactly, my anniversary. This position has remained vacant, the 3rd vice chair position. And so today I'd like to fill that position and nominate Vice Chair of Partnerships, Peter Galata, to serve as our 3rd vice chair and continue his work leading our partnership efforts. Member Galata does currently serve as technically as our 5th vice chair of partnerships, which has been a lot of work. And he's done very well at it, but the position actually is not currently listed as is not official in our current bylaws. So I felt like it was only appropriate since there was a vacancy in the 3rd vice chair position, to recognize Vice Chair Galata for his work by putting him in an official vice chair seat and filling the 3rd vice chair position. And so that would bring us into conformity with our bylaws. And so I would really kindly ask for a motion to elect Peter Galata to the position of 3rd vice chair, moved by Vice Chair Lacroix. So second by Member Barry. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? All right, congratulations, Vice Chair Galata, that you are now our 3rd vice chair, and I will turn it over to you for any comments.
Sorry, before Peter talks, I saw that Assemblymember Ting had his hand raised.
Oh, I am so sorry. Apologies, I did not see that.
Sorry, no, I was just voting aye.
Oh, okay, thank you. Vice Chair Galata.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany. Thank you, colleagues. I'm honored to serve and continue to serve on the executive committee. And as a vice chair, look forward to all the continuing the partnerships work. And now that it's official, and I'm formally on the executive committee. So thank you for this opportunity. Look forward to continuing all the work with all of you.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Galata, well deserved. And we will now move on to item number 8, barreling right along. And this one is the appointment of Han Zhou to the SF Democratic County Central Committee. And I have to say it is my pleasure to appoint Han to the SFDCCC. And I want to tell you a little bit about his background. Han was born in Lanzhou, Gansu, China, and immigrated to the United States when he was 6 years old. Han grew up in Connecticut with his parents and 2 grandparents and went through the public school system before studying at McGill University in Montreal, where he graduated with a degree in political science. After graduating college, he moved to San Francisco to work at Advancing Justice, Asian Law Caucus. He then worked as field director on San Francisco District 6 Supervisor Matt Haney in his 2018 campaign, where he led the first campaign to ever win every precinct in the district. Following that campaign, Han became the first Chinese American and the youngest ever executive director of the San Francisco Democratic Party, and then left that position to work in the office of Supervisor Haney as a legislative aide in City Hall, and then became his field director for his assembly race. And this position, of course, is opening up because that assembly race was successful, and we now have an assembly member, Haney, who is an ex officio. And so I am very proud to add make the appointment of Han Zhou to the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee to fill that vacancy. And I hope to have your support on that tonight. Are there any other members who'd like to make any comment on this appointment? Member Barry.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany, and thank you so much for your appointment of Han Zhou. I first met him when I volunteered for the Democratic County Central Committee when the Black community made several complaints about different disparities in the city of San Francisco. And he was a pleasure to work with, and he treated me just like I was a fellow member at the time. And he knows how things operate, so it's going to be refreshing, to have someone that, I mean, I'm a rookie myself, but it's nice that he knows the ropes and that he's aligned with a lot of our values. So thank you, Chair Mahogany.
Thank you, Member Barry. Member Banez.
Thank you so much, Chair Mahogany. Yeah, I'm also very supportive and excited to have Han join us in the DCCC. He's exhibited a lot of leadership qualities that we need. I also had the pleasure of meeting him when he was the executive director of the DCCC in 2019, and we worked on some campaigns together, and he's very committed. And I believe that bringing him as a board member, appointing him, there's a lot of value added to it. So with that, I support that appointment. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the support, Member Banez. Member Thomas.
I'm also excited to welcome Han to the DCCC in this capacity. He's completing the circuit now, having been our executive director, served as a proxy, and now as a member in his own right. Very proud to have worked with him several times in the past on, and one of the things I always like about Han is that he puts in the work and he follows up, and he does all the small things before I've even had to ask him on it. I'm going to be incredibly excited to have him join our fundraising committee. I think he's going to be a wonderful addition to the team.
Awesome. Thank you, Member Thomas. Vice Chair Lacroix.
Hi. So the DCCC has had this wonderful privilege and luxury of having stellar executive directors since, well, I'll speak to since I came on board. And Han is he's one of those, including our own Moises Garcia. But I just want to say that Han was excellent executive director, worked with all members of the DCCC, regardless of where they stood on any issue, and he was just super professional. I had hoped to hear from him before this meeting so that I would have, so that, you know, just going through the roll call of knowing where your votes might come from. But I'm really excited to have him, and I just want to say congratulations and welcome back to the DCCC, Han. We're excited to have you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lacroix. I don't see any other hands, so at this point, I'd love to turn it over to Hanzo for any comments before we take a vote.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much. I first just want to thank Chair Mahogany for appointing me to this role, and thank all the members of the DCCC for your consideration, and to the members who just spoke, and all your kind words. It really means a lot to me. As you all know, I've worked with the DCCC before as the executive director. And so I have a pretty good idea of what I'm getting myself into. Despite all of that, having worked here and knowing, you know, the amount of work and challenges that you all deal with every day, I'm deeply honored to serve on this body. I'm very excited to work with all of you in the various committees on the DCCC to continue the important work of educating voters here in San Francisco, registering more Democrats, and getting ready for another very busy election cycle here in San Francisco. The never-ending cycles of elections here in San Francisco. But you know, I also want to recognize the unique way and the role that our party, the San Francisco Democratic Party, has and can influence politics, not just here locally, but across the state and the country. And you know, we heard a little bit of that from folks earlier. I know that a lot of us are still reeling and processing the shooting that happened in Texas yesterday. And I distinctly remember 10 years ago being in class in high school, in my hometown in Connecticut, just 30 minutes down the road from Newtown, when 26 lives were taken at Sandy Hook. And in the 10 years since then, we've lost countless more lives to gun violence. We had 4 years of President Donald Trump, and now we're watching our Supreme Court overturn Roe v. Wade, and as well as, you know, what else they might be looking at. And the stakes continue to feel they're getting higher every single year. But you know, we are fortunate to be in a city where despite our differences and our constant debate, at the end of the day, we're all Democrats who want to push for bold progressive policies and values that can be an example for the rest of California and the rest of the country. And we have a huge midterm election coming up, and I'm very motivated to work with everyone here, as we did in 2018 and 2020, to elect more Democrats to office, and also, more importantly, hold our elected officials accountable to fighting for and delivering results, so that will give people a reason to become Democrats and to vote Democratic officials into office, whether that's at the state level or whether that's in Washington. That is, you know, the San Francisco way, and that's what this body has been doing for years. And I'm looking forward to rolling up my sleeves and working alongside all of you to make that happen. Thank you.
Sorry, I was muted. Thank you so much, Han, and we will now take a vote on this appointment. So we did have a motion in a second, correct?
No, motion.
Oh, we haven't.
Yeah, so I'll motion to support your appointment of Han Zhao to the DCCC.
Thank you very much. And Member Barry, did you just second?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Aye. All those who oppose? Any abstentions? And congratulations, Member Zoe. You are now a member of the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee. We're happy to have you. Congratulations again. We will now move on to item number 10. Oh, I'm sorry. Item number 9, a resolution in support of San Francisco small businesses. This is a resolution that was brought forward by Member Tung. Can we have a motion to consider this item?
So move.
Thank you, Member Barry. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Member Ibanez?
Correct.
Thank you very much. Member Tung, the floor is now yours.
Good evening, fellow Democrats. I'm bringing this resolution to you because, as we all know, in the last 2 years during COVID, small businesses have been greatly and disproportionately affected by the lockdown, shutdowns, and the reduction in tourism and business traffic in San Francisco. In order for San Francisco to recover from COVID and all the economic downturn effects from that, we really need to rally behind small businesses. They make up 93% of all businesses in San Francisco, employ hundreds of thousands of people in good, well-paying jobs and wage living jobs. And so I hope that I will have your support in supporting small businesses in San Francisco with this resolution. I would also welcome any co-sponsors.
Thank you, Member Tung. I am also a co-sponsor of this resolution. I just wanted to add, as a small business owner, you know, the pandemic was really, really tough. I mean, our small business ended up being closed, and we are looking for new spaces, but even finding new spaces is incredibly hard, especially when you think about all the impacts of zoning and all the rules and regulations and the fees. It is really, truly a gargantuan task. So any way in which we can continue to support small businesses, you know, I am 100% behind. Again, the stud is something that is very, very close to my heart. And I know you know, these small businesses, in fact, really impact entire communities. They are the places where a lot of young folks get their first jobs. They provide economic opportunities for a lot of immigrants, people of color, queer people. Small businesses are really sort of they are, I think, what our communities are really built on. So thank you for bringing forward this resolution. I'm proud to co-sponsor it. I don't see any other hands from members. So with that, we have this item on the floor. Can we have a motion in support of this item?
Motion to support this item.
Thank you very much, Member Ibanez. Is there a second?
Seconded.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. This resolution passes. Thank you again, Member Tung, for your leadership on this.
Thank you.
We will now move on to item number 10, a resolution in support of Ohlone tribal recognition. I am the sponsor of this resolution. Members, may I have a motion to consider this item, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Vice Chair Galata, and seconded by Member Barry. Thank you.
Second by Annabelle.
Oh, I'm sorry, Member Ibanez. Thank you very much. Thank you, members. Tonight, I'm offering a resolution in support of Ohlone tribal recognition. The Muwekma Ohlone tribe consists of over 500 registered tribal members. It is composed of those who trace their ancestry from the Spanish Empire, Mexican era records of Mission Dolores, Mission Santa Clara, and Mission San Jose. The current status of the Ohlone people is in large part due to actions by the California state legislature and our then US senators, who successfully shelved 11 proposed federal treaties. Unfortunately, the Democratic Party played a leading role in overt genocidal actions against the Ohlone peoples after statehood in 1848. The first civilian governor of California, Peter Burnett, was an independent Democrat, and he publicly stated that race war and racial extinction were inevitable, and the state legislature provided government funding to the California volunteers to commit atrocities against Native people throughout California. Senator David Cortez, along with co-authors Senator Bob Wykowski, Assembly members Ash Kalra, Alex Lee, Evan Lowe, and Robert Rivas, authored Senate Joint Resolution 13. This resolution would indicate that the California State Legislature supports the reinstatement of federal recognition for the Muwekma Ohlone tribe. The ancestral and tribal territory of the Muwekma Ohlone tribe includes San Francisco County and much of the land we now know as the Bay Area. The Muwekma Ohlone tribe has worked for over 40 years to restore its federal recognition. The process of doing so is complex and will be decided at the federal level. But this resolution in support of SJR 13, resolutions in support of SJR 13 have been passed by the Santa Cruz Democratic County Central Committee and the Santa Clara Democratic County Central Committee. So many thanks to Santa Cruz DCCC member Lou Chiaramonte Jr. for bringing this to our attention, and Charlene Nijmeh, chair of the Muwekma Ohlone, and Alan Levanthan, Muwekma Ohlone tribal ethnohistorian, are here available on standby to answer any questions that members might have. So I do hope to have your support on this important matter that brings us one step closer towards recognizing and ameliorating some of the harm that we have caused to the Muwekma Ohlone people for over 100 years. And I hope to have your support on this item. Is there anyone else who would like to provide comment or any questions for those who are still, those two members who are here? Seeing none, perhaps we can have a motion to approve this resolution.
So moved.
Thank you. Vice Chair Glada, and seconded by Member Barry. Let's do this by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? And any abstentions? I do see that Ting is abstaining. Any other abstentions? Seeing none, the resolution passes. Thank you again to all the members of the public and the Muwekma Ohlone who showed up to provide public comment. And I'm proud that the San Francisco Democratic County Central Committee is able to stand with you in regaining your tribal recognition. Thank you, members. We will now move on to item number 11, which is a resolution in support of California abortion providers. I am the sponsor for this item. Colleagues, may I have a motion to move on this item?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Member Ibanez and seconded by Member Barry. Thank you very much. So next month, the U.S. Supreme Court is scheduled to issue a decision on the most consequential challenge to Roe v. Wade since the landmark ruling was made nearly 50 years ago, guaranteeing the constitutional right to obtain an abortion. We do expect that federal abortion protections will be eliminated or severely weakened based on a leaked first draft majority opinion by Justice Samuel Alito. Already, 6 more states are considering so-called trigger bans across the country in the lead up to this summer's decision, while dozens of other state legislatures are considering 15-week bans, abortion pill bans, and bans modeled after Texas's controversial law that allows private citizens to sue anyone who helps someone obtain an abortion after 6 weeks. California Democratic lawmakers are bucking this trend and aim to make the state a sanctuary for out-of-state abortion seekers. Governor Newsom has already signed a law eliminating out-of-pocket costs for Californians, while the State Legislative Women's Caucus has also introduced a 13-bill package to further cut barriers to access and protect patient and provider rights. This resolution recognizes that conservative states may continue to ramp up legal and financial penalties for abortion providers who travel to other states to perform the procedure or who treat out-of-state patients. AB 1666 by Assemblymember Rebecca Bauer Khan would nullify civil judgments from other states related to reproductive care, and AB 2626 by Assemblymember Lisa Calderon would prevent the state medical board from suspending or revoking the license of a physician who is punished in another state for performing an abortion in accordance with California law. And finally, AB 2091 by Assemblymember Mia Bonta would prohibit medical providers and health insurers from sharing information in cases that seek to abortion. This resolution is in support of all of those measures, and colleagues, tonight I do ask for your support. Are there any other members who'd like to provide comment on this item? Member Berry.
Thank you, Chair Mahogany. Follow me for maybe 2 minutes, but the Republicans are really killing me right now with all their antics they are doing. Starting off, one thing that bothered me is the voting rights for all throughout the South, especially gerrymandering districts. Also with the their refusal to support new gun laws, also by them pouring money into recall campaigns, including over $700,000 into the unwarranted recall attempt of District Attorney Boudin. And now with the wanting to turn over Roe versus Wade. Members and public, I might have shared this TMI before, but it's relevant and I'm a very transparent person. When I served this country in the Navy, I was stationed on a ship in another country where abortion was not legal. And I became pregnant. I just turned 21. I was scared. I had nowhere to go. And I didn't want to let my command know that I was pregnant because of the way they treated pregnant women. So I befriended a local in the country I was in, and I had a back alley abortion. It was horrific. I was first given some medication and told to come back and asked if the abortion happened, which it did not. Then I was given a hallucinogen where the room was spinning and I was dizzy and whatnot. And a woman who was very angry at me did the procedure. And it was a tug of war of her pulling in and out of my uterus with some tool and me pulling back and her screaming at me. And it was just something that I don't want no woman to have to go through. So we do not need to revert back to before 1973. This happened to me in 1990. And mind you, 3 weeks later, I was sent to the Persian Gulf for war, bleeding continuously. So my point is that if a woman needs to come to California to do what she has decided and chose to do, then so be it. And thank you for bringing both this resolution and the next one forward, Chair Mahogany.
Thank you, Member Berry, for sharing that experience with us, and I'm sorry that you had to go through that. Are there any other members who would like to speak on this item? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve this resolution?
Ting moves.
I'll second that.
Thank you very much. We shall take this by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you very much. This resolution passes. Thank you again, colleagues. This, I maybe perhaps should have included done these two resolutions together. Unfortunately, there were a lot of bills and the way that our resolutions have to be, they can be no more than 3 whereas clauses and no more than 2 resolves, and have to be only 1 page. And so they did get split up. And apologies for not taking these 2 items together, but I do have another item on item number 12, which is a resolution in support of abortion access in California. So please bear with me, and colleagues may have a motion to consider this item.
Motion by Duffy.
Thank you, Member Tufti, and seconded by Member Ting.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Colleagues, this resolution is in support of abortion access in California, and it basically ensures that cost is not a barrier to care. And I offer this resolution in support of the following bills: Senate Bill 1142 by Senators Ana Caballero and Nancy Skinner, which would create a state-administered fund to assist patients who face financial barriers to obtaining an abortion and support public research on improving access. Also, it would support AB 2134 by Assemblymember Akila Weber, and would set aside money for clinics that provide uncompensated care to low-income patients whose insurance does not cover abortion and contraceptive services. And finally, AB 1918 by Assemblymember Kadi Petrie Norris would create a reproductive health service corps for underserved parts of the state. And colleagues, I just think that this is so important because, as we've said previously, we are going to see in the next few months, and we are already seeing in the state of California, a tremendous increase of people coming here to get access to abortions. As it becomes illegal, as many bans are triggered when federal protections are no longer in place, we are anticipating seeing a many times increase. I think maybe 1,000% increase in the number of abortions that we will be providing here in California. So we know that the people who will be most impacted by this are the low income communities of color. And we must make sure that we are not only protecting them, but also providing them access and making sure that abortion is equitable and accessible to all who need them, because it is a right and it is essential healthcare. So I would really appreciate your support on this item, and I would open it up to further comment. Seeing no hands, I would ask for a motion to approve this resolution.
I'll move this resolution for approval.
Seconded.
Thank you, Member Lee, seconded by Member Ibanez. We'll take this by acclamation, colleagues. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? Thank you for the unanimous support on this resolution and the one prior. Thank you again. Finally, colleagues, we are at item number 13, which is a resolution urging San Francisco Pride to consider political giving and allowing corporate participation in Pride 2023. This is a resolution that I have brought forward and worked closely with community members on, and has been added to tonight's agenda. Colleagues, may I have a motion to consider the item?
Moved by Member Duffy.
Thank you, Member Duffy. Is there a second? Who was
Ms.
that?
Williams.
Thank you, Member Williams. I think it's clear that there have been a lot of attacks on our youth across this country right now. And in particular, in the last several months, we also need to acknowledge the in addition to gun violence, that there has been extreme harm that has been perpetrated on LGBT kids across the country who have been put at the crosshairs of the GOP. This right-wing assault on LGBT rights is the worst in over a decade, and it's our responsibility, I believe, as a body to stand up and boldly defend the rights of our queer siblings across the country, particularly questioning LGBTQ young people and their families. We know that the most recent spate of anti-LGBT bills in places like Texas and Florida and Alabama will absolutely cost lives. They've already caused far too much suffering. And in the 7 days after Arkansas enacted its ban on gender-affirming care, emergency rooms around the state reported admitting 5 transgender minors, for attempted suicide, a noticeable uptick from the normal trend. Like John Briggs and Anita Bryant, the right-wing extremists behind these bills have realized that stirring bigotry against queer and trans people can attract political support. Some people will always be more interested in blaming people who are different for their problems than they are in doing the hard work of working together to solve them. But while they pander to bullies and bigots in San Francisco, we stand up to them. This resolution is an important complement to Senator Wiener's leadership, creating legal asylum for the families being persecuted by these laws. California should always be a home for the people most affected by persecution and hate. But it's also vitally important to step up and send a message about what allyship means in this moment. New research shows that each June, dozens of corporations march in pride while also funding the politicians working behind the scenes to undermine the safety of our community for the rest of the year. At critical moments in times like these, when we are so directly under attack, when our rights can be stripped away, when our trans and queer children live in fear and shame to the point where they are attempting to take their lives, it is important for our allies to step up. By ending their financial support for the sponsors of LGBT hate, these companies have an opportunity to send a clear message that putting LGBT kids at risk is unacceptable. If they can't do that, if they knowingly continue to support politicians who are endangering our lives and the lives of our children, then these companies should not be allowed to pretend they are on the right side and are on our side, and be promoted at an event that is a symbol of our progress, resilience, and right to be free to be who we are. Banning these entities from being able to promote themselves at Pride is a reasonable step. We can take it now, and we can make our community, we can take this step to make people accountable, to hold politicians accountable for these attacks, and to make sure that the funders of these politicians don't continue to support them. If we as a community do not stand up and force accountability here, where will we be 5 years from now? What will the attacks against queer and trans people look like then, if the message that these politicians get is that they can attack LGBT people with no consequences? With the way things are going in this country, I honestly don't want to even imagine what that would look like. But instead of agonizing, I'm focused on what we can do, and the least we can do for our queer and trans kids out there who look to us for leadership is to hold these funders and corporations accountable. Colleagues, I urge you all to support this resolution so that we can go into Pride Month knowing that we have taken a concrete step to protect the LGBT community, and I hope to have your support. Thank you so much. I'd like to now open it up to comment. I do see Member Lee would like to provide comments. Member Duffy messaged me on the side that he would also like to provide comments. So we'll go to him, and then Member Berry, and then Member Galata. Member Lee.
Great, thank you. Thank you so much, Chair Mahogany, for putting forward this resolution. I know it was on the 72-hour agenda, but I do think it's really important. I also know that locally there's been certainly a lot of dialogue about who does get to participate and who doesn't get to participate in Pride Parade. I think that, well, first, I mean, the fact that we're moving forward this resolution today is, I think, really important, but I think that the fact that we have to move forward with this sort of resolution, this recent dialogue, shows how far the Pride Parade has really transformed over the years, and in many ways is very far removed from when the first Pride March was organized here in San Francisco. And that, you know, the day after, there was another very celebratory, queer, you know, loving, beautiful march that was organized that got raided by the SFPD. That is our history. And the Pride Parade, to remind you all, is not just like some kumbaya for inclusion. This is queer folks, this is trans folks saying, this is our space. It is not this like, let's invite, come one, come all, corporations come as you are, save face to whatever. This is our space to be who we are and present ourselves. And so I think this is the smallest token that we can do as SFDCCC. I certainly hope that, you know, especially as we enter Pride Month, that we continue these conversations about you know, how does SF lead and how does SFDCCC lead on LGBTQ issues and, you know, what our community looks like. So thank you again, Chair Mahogany. I look forward to voting yes on this.
Thank you, Member Lee. We'll now go to Member Dufty.
Chair Mahogany, I want to thank you for authoring this resolution. And for me personally, as a gay man who's been active in politics for 45 years, I think this is something that I feel is very consequential and important. So I want to thank you for that. I think many of you know that I worked for Congresswoman Shirley Chisholm and Congressman Julian Dixon. Both of them were members of the Congressional Black Caucus. And I can remember in those years in the 70s that there weren't a lot of corporate sponsors, but all of a sudden the cigarette companies came in and started sponsoring the Congressional Black Caucus weekend. And for those of you that don't know, it's really a national event that allows individuals from Black communities across the country to come and engage their elected representatives and their workshops and their fun elements of the weekend. But over years, it became very clear that some of the companies that were doing the most to worsen health of Black Americans and to hook people on menthol cigarettes who are African American to make up the, you know, the bulk of those purchasers. And there was a reckoning. And I think that this is the time for there to be a reckoning in terms of the pink washing that takes place in corporations that think they can be slick and pay for a float and then turn right around and give Marjorie Taylor Greene or Matt Gaetz or any of these horrific people who would see us all be dead. I think it's important to recognize that Juanita Moore during the pandemic organized a march that was a political march. There weren't any floats in the parade. I can remember walking with Raphael Mandelman and Senator Scott Wiener. And you know what I'll tell you is that some of the organizers came and politely spoke to us and said that it was time and that it meant something to have people of color to be in the front leading this parade. And even though we were elected officials, would we understand and stand in the back in one of the final segments of this parade? That was a beautiful thing. It was a beautiful thing to see. And we had not a second of thought or concern. That was the right thing to do. And I just want to thank all the beautiful and wonderful individuals that came to speak in support of this. I just want to be absolutely clear. When I talked about Juanita's event, it was a very political event. On Sunday, on Harvey Milk's 92nd birthday, I went and watched The Life of Times of Harvey Milk for the umpteenth time. And I looked at that segment of him in the Gay Pride Parade. And he simply was holding a homemade sign. I'm from Woodmere, New York. That he was someone who, being in San Francisco, could say that he was a gay man and to say where he came from and that he knew that other young people live in communities where they're not safe and not protected. And so I just want to say that I think that this is absolutely important. We cannot condone pink washing. I understand why Pride has spoken up for young people and others who are marginalized and deeply concerned about police brutality and militarization of police and about the overall relationship between law enforcement and marginalized communities. And I just want to say that I think that for those police officers that I've worked with who really understand what community policing means, it means really listening. It means hearing. It means really responding to those individuals who may not feel safe in general because of who they are, or may not feel safe because historically these are communities that have been brutalized and violated and treated disparagingly by law enforcement. So I apologize for speaking for a bit, but this means a lot to me. And I think that this is a very important step towards the next Pride, and having all of those in attendance understand that this city is not going to be fooled or gamed as it relates to people claiming to be acting in the interests of the LGBTQ plus community. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Member Duffy. Member Barry.
Yes, thank you, Chair. I want to attempt to do a friendly amendment, and that was basically for the title, because it kind of threw me off on whether it was corporations basically allowed, period, versus corporations that either discriminate or don't have a good track record and whatnot. So this is my suggestion, and it's okay, I'll just say what I had in mind. Okay. Resolution urging San Francisco Pride to consider political giving in allowing corporations that do not support LGBTQ to participate in Pride 2023, or something to where it's clear that it's not corporations, period, but corporations that discriminate.
Thank you. So I guess I'm amenable to that amendment. I think what we're talking about is considering the political giving. So, but we can make it more like consider. Maybe we can say to consider political or donating to anti-LGBTQ political candidates or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Okay.
Can we say contributions?
To consider. Yeah, political contributions. Sure. I'll take that. Contributions to anti-LGBTQ candidates or causes, and allowing corporate participation in Pride 2023. I'm fine with that. Thank you for the friendly amendment, Member Barry and Ibanez. We'll now go on to Vice Chair Galata.
Thanks. Thanks, Chair Mahogany. I just wanted to echo the comments, your comments, powerful words tonight, and just also Member Lee and Duffy's comments as well. I just want to associate myself with those comments and just say I have always had major issues with kind of corporate backed and funded Pride celebrations in San Francisco. And I do think it's important. This is really important. Thank you to those who came out and spoke tonight, and Eric, who's also been working closely on this issue specifically. Thank you for your leadership, and the educators who spoke tonight too. And it's this is an important step in having a bigger conversation around critically examining Pride and the role of corporations, corporate Pride, militarized Pride. We need to really, as a community, I think, confront the reality of what Pride has become. And I totally agree with Member Duffy. The silver lining of the pandemic was that we came back to our roots around Pride and having community-led Pride marches and politically centered Pride marches. And that was so powerful to see the community and the diversity coming together for Pride in that form. And I think we need in this moment, I think, to really address the corporate giving, which it's beyond just the attacks on the LGBT community. We have to look at corporations that are funding fossil fuel funding climate change, and who are also attacking workers' rights and going after workers and preventing workers from organizing. I think there's so many issues we need to confront, but I really commend this as a starting point. And I really applaud SF Pride Board for really holding firm, particularly with the news this week around the role of police marching in the parade. And I really think this is a moment we have to, and I would ask our straight allies and really beseech our straight allies to follow the lead of LGBT organizations like SF Pride and the voices of LGBT educators and advocates and our youth in demanding a Pride that reflects our values. And that, I think, is really what we need to be having a conversation about. And it's just disappointing to see the narrative this week. And so I just I appreciate the timeliness of this resolution. SF Pride Board has really been holding space for the community to really think and critically examine Pride. And I support their decision, and I hope we can work with them to have this conversation, probably not for this Pride, but how we work towards the future to address this in San Francisco.
Thank you, Vice Chair Galata. Thank you, colleagues, everyone, for sharing on this. It is, this was submitted on the 72-hour notice, and after that, there were many things that came up that we, thought about maybe adding to this resolution, but we wanted it to be pure in an intent. One thing that I do wish that I could have added is a suggestion for, the city and county of San Francisco to consider providing funding for Pride to make up the costs that any financing that they would lose from rejecting money from corporate sponsors that are giving to anti-LGBT candidates and political activity. So perhaps if there are folks who would unfortunately, we can't do another resolved clause on this one, but perhaps we can take a look at that and work on a resolution for next month so that the city and county of San Francisco can perhaps step in here and really support our Pride organization in being free from that kind of funding and still provide a fun Pride for everyone to enjoy. With that, lastly, I do want to again shout out Eric Mebust, who worked very closely with me on this and helped draft this resolution, and who is also leading a lot of the organizing work around this, not just here in San Francisco, but nationally. So thank you again to Eric Mebust, all of our speakers, all the folks who came out to speak in support of this item, and to all of my colleagues who offered their co-sponsorship. At this time, I would like to ask for a motion to approve item number 13 of this resolution, urging SF Pride to consider political contributions to anti-LGBTQ candidates or causes in allowing corporate participation in Pride 2023.
So move.
Thank you, Member Ibanez. Is there a second?
Second.
Was that Member Vice Chair Galata? Thank you, Vice Chair Galata. Colleagues, let's take this by acclamation. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions?
Abstain. Abstain, Treasurer Ma.
Treasurer Ma and Member Feinstein both abstain. With that, colleagues, this resolution passes. Thank you for your support on this. And I do understand for those who didn't have the time to get the approval from their electeds. With that, we are at the end of our resolutions. Our final item is new business. At this time, colleagues, is there any new business that folks would like to bring forward? Seeing no hands, we will now move on to our final item, item number 15, which is adjournment. And we do have, I would like to offer an in memoriam to the victims of gun violence in Buffalo, New York and Uvalde, Texas. And Member Berry, would you also have an in memoriam you'd like to offer?
Yes, Chair and members, and please be patient with me. This is somebody who I really love. I try to keep it under 2 minutes again. I would like to honor the life of the mother of our district attorney, Chesa Boudin. Kathy Boudin passed on May 1st. Dr. Kathy Boudin was the co-director and co-founder of the Center for Justice at Columbia University. Her work focused on the causes and consequences of mass incarceration and the development of strategies to both transform the current criminal justice system and to deal with the day-to-day damage that the system has caused. In prison, she focused on strengthening mother-child relationships across the separation of incarceration, bringing back college to Bedford Hills Correctional Facility after the termination of the Pell Grants, and building a community response to the HIV and AIDS epidemic. Since her release from prison in 2003, Dr. Boudin founded the Coming Home program at the Spencer Cox Center for Health, Mount Sinai, and St. Luke's, which provides health care for people returning from incarceration. She also developed a restorative practice program inside prisons for long-termers, many of whom are sentenced as juveniles, and developed policy initiatives to release aging people from prison and to reform the parole system. Her work is based on participation and leadership from those who are mostly deeply affected by mass incarceration. Dr. Boudin's articles have been published in the Harvard Education Review, Journal of Corrections Education, Women and Therapy, Columbia Journal of Gender and Law, and Lehman Report of Yale Law School. She is editor and co-author of the book, Breaking the Walls of Silence, AIDS and Women in New York State Maximum Security Prison. Her research interests include the impact of higher education on incarcerated women, recidivism rates, and life experience of people serving long sentences and parole policy. The experience of adolescents with incarcerated mothers and the role of peer support. She earned her undergraduate degree from Bryn Mawr College, her master's degree from Norwich University, and her doctorate from Columbia University Teachers College in 2007. Members, I really love this woman. I met her personally. Rest easy, Kathy Boudin, and I send my condolences to District Attorney Boudin and to Kathy Boudin's husband, David Gilbert. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Berry. And then Member Banez, did I see also that you have in memoriam?
Yeah, well, for me as an educator, what I wanted to do is, this has been really, really challenging in terms of what happened yesterday. And my union is bringing together all the educators across the Bay Area, families, the labor movement, and I'm extending an invitation to members of the DCCC and the community to join us at a candlelight vigil on Sunday. I'm sorry, on Tuesday, May 31st at 6 p.m. in front of City Hall. We are calling for safe schools. There's no words as an educator to describe the feeling of losing your colleagues, of losing the children. The children to us, they are like our children. And so we want stronger gun control laws, and we want safer classrooms. And so I hope that everyone will be able to join us next Tuesday. More information will come. We're just in the planning stages.
Thank you very much for that update, Member Banez, and for that in memoriam as well. Colleagues, is there anyone else who'd like to add an in memoriam to the meeting? Seeing no other hands, we will adjourn this meeting in the memories of the victims of gun violence in both Buffalo, New York and Uvalde, Texas, and as well as Kathy Boudin. Thank you, colleagues, and this meeting is adjourned.